I want to give you some tips on how to work with three other materials here, working with shine, reflection, and roughness. So to follow along, go to Working Files, open up Photoshop Projects, and then open up our favorite little file here, Materials. First order of business is to work with shine. So I'm going to select the sphere for that. Click on that with the selection tool. Click it again to get its materials. And there's shine. And shine is set to 80%. Shine determines the size of the specular highlight. The larger the number, the smaller the specular highlight. So I'm going to raise you up a little bit like that and make you tiny. And notice when I make any change now, the reflection's gone. That's because it was rendered and now it's no longer being rendered. Need to do another ray trace render to see that again, but we'll worry about that later. I'm going to make this thing small, and we basically make the entire thing, or almost the entire thing, glow with that specular highlight. So that's how shine works. I've mentioned earlier that you can use a texture file with shine. It's a little tricky, but you can do that. Let me show you how this works with a preset. Go over here and pick this one there because that uses a shine texture map. Click on that. Let's take a look at how that works. And look at this file here. Edit it. And it says it's applied to more than one texture, which we can see. Got one there and one there, and they're both the same file. But that's okay. We'll click OK there. And what we have here is black and gray. Wherever it's black, it looks like it's shining at the equivalent of a 0% setting. Let's put these guys side by side so you can see that. So go Window, Arrange, 2-up vertical. So wherever it's black there, it looks as if I had rolled this thing over to 0%. Wherever it's gray, nothing happens. That's how that works. So let's play with this a little bit. So let me go back here and show you that. I'll click on this again and we'll just adjust the shine. You'll see that nothing happens here because the black says, okay, you're going to make it look like you're a fully 0% over here. So you're shining over the entire thing. And then the gray says, don't change the shine at all. Let's try that out for this guy. I'm going to go back to the previous setting. We're going to go up here to history and let's just say open and click on this again. I'm going to go down to shine here and I'm going to, let's say, create a new texture. There it is. It's the size of that document. We're going to edit that texture. I'll put it over here on the other side so you can see it. First order of business is to make it gray. So I'm going to go fill that with gray. Edit, fill it with 50% gray. Wherever it's 50% gray, nothing can happen. If I click on this now and I change the shine value, nothing will happen. We've now said everything is going to have the normal shine value that you'd have at something around 80% or so. That shine value there. All right, let's start changing this. I'm going to take the paintbrush here, go to this side over here and pick on the brush tool, B for brush. And I've got the brush set to white here. I want to change that to black. Just draw a little black thing here like that. And I'll come back over here and see what happens. Click on you with the selection tool. And let's find that thing we just applied there. We'll be off to one side here. There it is. And it looks like it would look if the shine was set to 0%. I click on this again. Let's close this down so you get a better look at it. Now the shine is set to 81%. If I change this, it won't change. It has the same color it would have if I set the shine to 0%. And notice the shine no longer changes because we have gray here saying that don't change it anywhere it's gray, change it only where it's black. And that's how that works. This little slider has no effect anymore because of this file here. If I remove that file, it goes back to being a regular shine value in terms of its width there like that. Okay, let's talk about reflection. I'm going to go back here and make this thing full screen. Go to Window, Arrange, consolidate all the tabs, and go back like that. Reflection just says, how reflective is this surface? So this particular guy is set to 68% reflection, but you don't see any reflection here because you need to render to see a reflection. But there is one thing you can apply where you don't need to render it, and that's an environment. So I'm going to give the sphere an environment just to show you how that works. I'm going to go down here to environment just for the sphere. And I click load texture. Let's go over here to the photo spin folder. And let's load up this tropical beach here. And what that does is it places this thing inside a globe essentially, where the tropical beach is the interior of the globe. And then that image is reflecting off the surface of just this object. Now you can put an environment for the whole scene, or we're doing it just for this little object like that. And right away, you can see the reflection. This one doesn't need to be rendered the way you render something when you want to reflect it off a surface or get this cylinder to reflect off it. It immediately picks up the reflection of the environment. Let's render it though anyway, see what happens. I'll pick this and select just the sphere here, and maybe the edge of the cylinder, and we'll render this now. We'll see if it picks up the cylinder now as well. There you go. So now it's picking up the table and the cylinder, plus picking up the environment. So it immediately picks up the environment. No need to render that. But now that you do the rendering, you do pick up the rest of the things that it reflects off. Let's go back to this thing again. Click on it with the selection tool one more time like that. And change the reflection to 100%. Now you see it picks up that environment again, but does not pick up the area around it. We need to render that again like so. Now the reflection will be much more accurate. Now there is that nasty seam that comes up when you've got the left side and the right side of an image like this that don't match. I explained how to deal with this when you apply this as a material, but I'll do a separate lesson on environments a little bit later in this chapter. All right, let's click away from that. One last thing is roughness. Roughness gives you a surface kind of a brushed metal look. Let's click on the cylinder over here by going to the selection tool, click on this little cylinder, click again, and we'll adjust the roughness here. Right now it's at 0%. I'm going to zoom in a bit using the controller command key and then clicking on the plus a couple times. We'll take a look at this little cylinder. Hold on my hand tool there, and let's make it rough. So I've got the cylinder selected again. I'm going to rough it up all the way to 100%. And nothing happens other than the fact that the reflection goes away because we changed it, so we lost the render. So what's rough doing here? Well, nothing yet. We need to render it again. Roughness needs to be rendered, so I'll just select this area here, and we'll render that and see how that looks. Well, it's not quite going to be that noisy, but you see what's happening here. It gives it kind of a brushed metal appearance, which works pretty well on surfaces that have kind of a chrome color to them, something like that. And I've got this set to a very low setting inside my preferences. If I go to Edit, or in Mac, Photoshop, and I go down to Preferences, and go to 3D, I'll change the threshold to 10 and let it roll a little bit farther now. Let's see how that works now. Just get a better look to the roughness here and see how the brushed metal really looks after a couple of passes with the renderer here. I'll fast forward here until we get farther into it. All right, that gives you a basic feeling of how roughness works. I've got it to 100%, which is pretty extreme, but it does give you that basic brushed metal look that you might want to have if you're working with colors that might be along the lines of silver, nickel, things like that. So that's how you use the shine, reflection, and roughness materials.